Welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm not your financial advisor, and none of this is financial advice, but it's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about altcoins tonight, and specifically the total market cap of the altcoin market, known as Total 3, which excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum, but includes all altcoins. Now, for simplicity's sake, I have removed stablecoins from our analysis. So you'll notice up here I have Total 3 minus the sum of USDT, USDC, DAI, and Binance USD. So that should give us a clearer picture of what is going on. Now, as always, I'd like to start with a long-term log regression chart on the 2-week, if possible, and that's what we have here. And you can see most of the history of Total 3 dating back to August of 2020. And you can see that we've never gone above or below 2 standard deviations away from the mean, which is right here. So this is in increments of 0.5 going from -3 to +3 standard deviations. And you can see kind of like where we've been and where we are now. You can already see some of the diminished volatility to the downside. Doesn't take long. And a very convincing bottoming process, really all the way from June of 2022, again in December, again in June of 23, and then once again in September of 23. I mean, that is a very solid bottoming process at -1 standard deviations from the mean. An impressive run back up to the logarithmic regression median line, and we were trying to hold it as support here. Unfortunately, we got pushed back down again. Not terribly surprising considering what's going on with the overall broader market. Now I'd like to turn my attention to the shorter logarithmic regression uptrend line, which I decided to start around July of 2023. I fit the data from July of 2023 up to the present day, and you'll see here's the mean line of this logarithmic regression. You can see we kind of dove down to and this is plus to -3 standard deviations in increments of 1. Went down to the -2 standard deviation line, popped back up to the 1 standard deviation, came down, scraped the -1 a little bit, came up all the way to the +2, and now we're heading back down to the -1. So the altcoin market has been pretty strong ever since coming off of its June lows, and you might wonder, well, where do we go from here? Now this is the 5-day Gaussian channel, and you can see we were just red for a really long time. If you go back forever really. Ever since Q2 of 2022, it's just been a nasty Gaussian channel. Finally sliced through it, got rejected, attempted again. It took a while. We finally got into the Gaussian channel, sliced through it convincingly in about October, November. And if you've been in the altcoin market, you probably experienced some really nice gains during that time. Seems like we're kind of cooling off a little bit right now. However, the Gaussian channel, because of all this momentum we had, is still green. It's a little flat, but it's green, and certainly like green more than red. What about on the higher time frame? Let's look at the 2-week and see what that looks like. Okay, so here's the initial capitalization of the altcoin market into our first major bear market while this metric Total 3 has existed, and lots of bottoms. The Gaussian channel is red and concave down, but we did slice through it. Now, did we slice through it convincingly? We didn't just go straight through like a rocket. That's kind of hard to do on the 2-week. It can be done, but you'll notice the Gaussian channel is a little fat on the bottom end, and that's reflecting all this downside that we've had. So we have to absorb that in the channel, but I do like to see that it is narrowing, and that's generally a good sign. I want to see this inflect. I have no idea how long that's going to take, but I do like to, what I am enjoying is that the altcoin market is holding support on the median line of the 2-week Gaussian channel, which is actually a hard thing to do. These wicks have been bought up, and it looks like we may have another 2-week period where we hold support yet again. So that is an encouraging sign. The bull market for assets begins in a red Gaussian channel. It doesn't begin in a green Gaussian channel. Bear markets begin in a green Gaussian channel. What you really want to see for the start of a bear market is this median line starts to inflect into like concave down instead of going concave up. And just the opposite is what you want to see with the red Gaussian channel to confirm bullishness. This concave down switches to concave up. And it's hard to tell if that's happening just yet. but it seems like if it isn't happening now, it's certainly likely to happen soon. Also keep in mind that this Gaussian channel has been red for a year, and not that there is some rule that it has to stay red for a year, but for the 2-week Gaussian channel to stay red for a year, that's generally a time when you would expect things to start turning around, from past experience looking at these channels. Now I've pulled up some data from the 2021 bull market down to the hypothetical lows here in December of 2022 to illustrate total 3 with fibs and kind of see where we've been, where we're likely to go next. And I pulled this up on the weekly. Now, unfortunately, there is no VRVP or visible range volume profile for total 3, so we have to do without that. But you can see that we straddled this 0.236 fib. I mean, it even went down here to near zero. I mean, all the way since June of 2022 to October in 2023. Look at all these touch points. I mean, that is some serious straddling. We finally broke through. Okay, finally broke through October, November. And not only did we break through the 236, we broke through the 382, and we even wicked to the 0.5 fib at $416 billion. Now, we've since cooled off, and you've probably noticed your altcoins cooling off, but we are holding support on the 382. And that is a reassuring sign. Just looking at the fib chart alone, we can't really tell if we're going to hold support there, or do we maybe come back down and try to test the 236 and hold it as support? You know, that is a good question that I think is worth exploring. You know, throwing some Bollinger Bands on here, I really like the way this looks. Very choppy, like an accumulation range, kind of from June of 2022 to October 2023. This was a great time to be loading up on altcoins. And if you did, I'm sure you've been rewarded very handsomely for it. Look at that explosion upward into the upper part of the Bollinger Band. We've got the 20-week moving average turned up. We're heading toward it, you know, and that might be a place that we want to see if we can hold a support. I think there's a good chance we do. And that would be wonderful. I would love to see that. Altcoins, you know, they look pretty good, considering the circumstances, considering how Bitcoin is starting to look. And we looked at Ethereum in the last video against Bitcoin. Now, this is, of course, the USD valuation. We're going to want to also explore the Bitcoin valuation. More on that later. But this does look pretty good to me. And it also looks like the moving averages are starting to sort themselves out. We have the yellow 20-week, which, I mean, this thing hasn't even had a chance to try to hold it as support yet because the 20-week is coming up to the price. You got the 50-week below the 20-week. Love to see that. You got the 100-week heading down. This looks good. I mean, this looks like we're trying to sort these moving averages out. I would love to see us come and test the 20-week and try to hold that as support. That would be a really strong sign for the altcoin market that maybe a more powerful alt season is coming our way in the coming months. Now, although it is starting to weaken a little bit, the bull-bear power trend looks fantastic for altcoins. Wow, look at these green bars. This is what you want to see. You want to see green bars elevated. Now, the average line is coming back down. Bulls are firmly in control. You don't see any red down here. So we might see this kind of fade away a little bit as we approach that 20-week that I was showing you earlier. But no, I mean, this looks pretty good. You know, considering the circumstances. I'm impressed with the bull-bear power trend, and look how far we've come. Do you think we're going to go back down this low anytime soon? I don't. No, I think the bulls are going to remain in control of the altcoin market for quite some time after such a brutal bear market for altcoins. On this channel, I love introducing you to new tools and indicators. This is one of my favorites. If you're familiar with the Fisher transform, this is an improvement on it. I endearingly refer to it as the hyperspace rails. But what it's really called is the Gaussian filter MACD, moving average convergence divergence. And it is a modified version of the Fisher transform. And this thing is great. It prints long signals when price is going up, and it prints short signals when price is going down. And it gives you an idea of what the overall sentiment is. So right now you'll notice we got a cross back on January 1st, and the channel is, or the rail rate, the hyperspace rail is heading down. That is bearish, but it is still green. And if it crosses the zero line, don't panic, because look what I'm noticing. I want to show you something here. This is just bearishness kind of making its way out of the system, but you know, I'm hoping we get at least a higher low, maybe when this comes down. Now this is a 1 week time frame. It could go below these lows, and that wouldn't necessarily be bearish. It just depends what happens to Bitcoin, like I said. But right now, it's basically this is a bearish signal, and if it crosses this line, it will print a short signal, and that's usually when things kind of turn down in a more sustainable way, like in August over here, in June over here. So we'll have to monitor this one and kind of see what happens with it. This is one of my favorite indicators, although it's one of the hardest to learn how to read. I'm going to explain it to you. It's called the ADX and DI. So the bullish directional index is the green one. This is bullishness. And then the red directional index is the bearish one. The white line is called the ADX, or the average directional index. Now, let me explain this so you can fully understand it. The average directional index indicates the strength of a trend. When the average directional index is down here, but between 0 and like 10, or 0 and 15, that generally indicates crabbing or a very weak trend. A very, very weak trend. If you're down here, this is a weak trend right here. And you can see that reflected in the sideways price. When the ADX shoots up like this, whatever's on top is going to be the dominant trend. Right now, the dominant trend is bullishness. You can see, look at those 3 spikes that we got over the past few months. Beautiful. We've come down. Looks like we've temporarily put in a local bottom here. I can't tell you which way this is going to go. I don't know. The trend strength right now, though, is on our side. We've got a 44 trend strength. The bulls are dominating. This is bullish divergence. It is very weak bullish divergence. When you see the green moving away from the red, that's bullish divergence. When you see the green moving towards the red moving towards the green, that is bearish convergence, meaning that you have weakening of bullish structure and the bear is starting to creep in. So I don't really know which way this is going to go, but right now it looks pretty healthy considering what the situation we're in. I like seeing the fact that the trend strength is strong, although you'll notice it is starting to go concave down, so we might see this kind of come down in the coming months before we get a really sustained move to the upside for a beautiful altcoin season. This is the Snabble RSI, or Snabble Relative Strength Index. It is an RSI, just like the other RSI that I usually show you, but it's based on an exponential moving average rather than a simple moving average, so it's a little bit more dramatic in its appearance and gives you a better idea of how this asset is moving. Now, one thing I just noticed, this is the median line of the RSI. Look, we've been in an uptrend with that median line, and it looks like we're possibly coming back down to test it again. That would be great news if we test this median line and bounce off of it. RSI got really hot. It got over 80 during October and November and part of December, and again, you felt that in your portfolio if you were holding altcoins. Altcoins were doing great. Had a little bounce in January. It was more of a dead cat, but so I would expect, my guess is this is going to turn down a little bit more heading into February, and maybe sometime in March, sometime near the halving, we might get a bounce, and that might kick off a nice altcoin season. And maybe we'll find ourselves back in the 80 to 90 range once again. These trends, you can see the overall trend, folks, it's up. Okay, it's up. And that is what we want to see. We want to see that. That is good for altcoins. How is total 3 holding up against Bitcoin? I could go to the total 3 divided by Bitcoin chart, but we have this indicator called the Mansfield RSI, which is a customizable relative strength index that allows you to compare your asset against any other asset, in this case Bitcoin. When the background is red, that indicates that your asset in general is underperforming said asset. So over in here, we're underperforming Bitcoin, but you can see we had a brief pop up again in that October to December timeframe, came back down, and we're trending back down again, but the overall trend is up. So to me, it looks like, altcoin season is not here yet, and it may not be here in February, but there's a chance we see it around the halving. That the Bitcoin halving is around April 23rd, and historically speaking, that does kind of correlate with a nice altcoin season before Bitcoin goes on its own parabolic run. So I think if you're holding altcoins, you've got some pain that you're going to have to deal with probably in the coming months. I mean, honestly, if you're holding anything, you're going to deal with pain, but especially altcoins, considering that Bitcoin is outperforming them right now. But be patient, okay? Don't throw in the towel. Don't throw your bags away. Everything is going to be fine. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, as I showed you with the Mansfield RSI, we've got some work to do, okay? I'm not going to lie. Things don't look great right now compared to Bitcoin, but they look better than they have looked. This looks like a double bottom to me. You could even argue a triple bottom, which is really strong. Then, from June of 23, again in October, and in December, we've been testing. This is plus or minus 3 standard deviations from the mean of total 3 minus stable coins divided by Bitcoin on the 2-week. We sliced right through the green Gaussian channel during the bear market. That's what happens. And it seems like we found support here on the minus 1.5 logarithmic regression line, and we've moved our way up to the minus 1 logarithmic regression line. So we've made it 1/2 of a regression line up, and it looks like we're holding that as support. Yes, folks, we have a ways to go before altcoins start to sustainably outperform Bitcoin, but you can tell that, look, we've been in this channel now, the red Gaussian channel, and by the time you hit red, you're usually about halfway through your bear market. If not even further along. So July 31st, 2023 is the start of the red channel, and we're now in January 2024. So we've been in the channel for 6 months, and I think that this is a reasonable time to start to expect things to turn around, and that's why I've been looking at the halving. I think by the halving, we could, there's a chance we come back down here again, but there's a chance by the halving that we're in the minus 0.5 logarithmic regression band, or maybe even straddling the median line. That could happen, and that would be fantastic for altcoins against Bitcoin. So this is almost like kind of like an altcoin dominance chart. We do have others dominance, which I'll talk about another time, but that doesn't include the top altcoins. So looking at this chart, it looks encouraging, and I definitely feel pretty good about altcoins post-halving, and I think, like I've said, we're in for some short-term pain probably in the meantime. So when it comes to Bitcoin, we have some work to do, okay? We have successfully made it out of the below 0.236 zone, and it looks like we're losing that as support. So it's not a great sign that we're losing it, and that we may have to come back down here and watch Bitcoin outperform altcoins. But I think we're going to blast through this. I think it's just a matter of time. And, my timeline for that's going to be around April or May, if I had to guess. I would say between April and May, right around the halving, post-halving, I think altcoins are going to light up like a Christmas tree. Well, that's what they would, a summer Christmas tree, a late spring, summer. I think altcoins are going to have a fantastic run against Bitcoin this summer. I've already said about Ethereum. I can see Ethereum waking up against Bitcoin, as early as post-halving, probably no later than June. And so I think ETH and altcoins are just going to have a party this summer. It's going to be the DeFi summer version 2. That is what I'm counting on, and I think that party can extend into the fall before Bitcoin decides to go blow away everything, as it always does, right? This is an encouraging sign, though. Look at the Bollinger Bands. Really squeezing here. Now, whenever the Bollinger Bands squeeze this hard, that usually means a big move is coming. Now, this is on a 2-week scale, so a big move could still be a ways away. That could be the halving, right? So we are holding the median line of the Bollinger Band channel, and that is good. Like I said, in bear markets, you spend some time above here, trying to get above here, but you just don't. And we've been above here really not for that long, just from December onward. So let's see if we can hold that. Let's hope we don't slice back down. If we do, it's not the worst thing in the world. But when you see the Bollinger Band squeezing like this, and this kind of looks like a falling wedge, and these tend to be very bullish once they're over. So I wouldn't be surprised if this just kind of squeezes its way right into the halving and then explodes upward. That would actually be my base case. If we have a wick, some wicks below here, so be it. But That's what I'm kind of thinking. As you just saw in the Bollinger Bands, we've gotten above the 20 week for the first time. Actually, this is the 40 week, not the 20 week, because we're on a 2 week time frame. We've gotten above the 40 week, and we're sitting just below the. I always have to think these through 100 week. Okay, so I wouldn't call this bullish because 100 weeks up here, but at least we're holding the 40 week. And if I said I don't remember when I posted these earlier in the video, I may have accidentally called them 20 and 50 when it was a 2 week. Just multiply it by 2 if that's what I said. I don't remember what I said, but I'd really like to see us hold the 40 week and watch this. This 100 week should start to come down as we get closer to the halving. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think that you can expect altcoins to outperform Bitcoin in a really big way. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the takeaway message from today's video is that altcoins are probably going to bleed out. Some will do better than others, not only against the US dollar, but also against Bitcoin. Hard to say if they'll bleed out against ETH because ETH's looking pretty bad itself. So I'm really focused just on Bitcoin at the moment, although my focus will switch to ETH when ETH starts to wake up a little bit more. But let's have a big picture view. So this is not financial advice, remember that, but I'm not selling any of my altcoins. And I have a lot of altcoin positions. So yeah, I'm okay writing them down and taking a little bit of an unrealized loss. Why not? You've got to sit through some pain to get those gains, and I can always DCA more if we get down to lower levels. I don't recommend trying to time bottoms. It's so hard to do. No matter how great your TA is, it's just luck. Timing bottoms and timing tops is extraordinarily difficult. I managed to time one top correctly on one of my altcoins early on in the mania that we got in October through November, December. But even then, I wasn't 100% sure that I sold the top. It was only until afterwards that I confirmed that. And I've got some tools that we can use to try to identify tops, but we're not going to be seeing tops anytime soon on most projects, so we're not going to talk about that. So I'm pretty confident altcoins are going to do very well in the back half of this year, especially in the late spring through early to mid fall. I think that's going to be a great time to be holding altcoins, great time for Ethereum, and yeah, I just can't see it any other way. So if you can just kind of hold through a little bit of drawdown, I don't really think we're going to see major drawdowns. I mean, we formed a pretty convincing bottom here. I think that I mean, it is always possible we go lower. I don't want to say it isn't, but there's some encouraging signs like being above the 40-week moving average, and which is in the middle of the Bollinger Bands squeezing. I'm seeing a lot of signs that if you can just hang on a little while and be patient, you'll be rewarded very generously for holding on to your altcoins. Obviously, having Bitcoin right now is the better play, but that narrative is coming to an end soon, and it will only pick back up probably after our altcoin season, when everybody takes their profits and decides to make Bitcoin go parabolic, and then retail comes in and does their thing. We're still a little ways away from that, but I hope you enjoyed the content of this video. I just call the markets as I see them. This is the crypto simulation, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below if you want me to answer a question or if you've got suggestions for future content, and please share this video with everyone you know. And subscribe and hit that notification button so you can be notified of more videos that are entirely data driven. Okay, that's my approach, is just look at the charts, interpret them, try to tune out all the noise, and give you the best analysis possible. Till next time, bye.